So to be honest, when I first saw this news, I was pretty shocked and surprised and really didn't think it was real at all. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about right now, it was pretty much confirmed that there has been a massive delay to The Last of Us Part 3 to the point where it might not even be coming now. And you might be thinking, well, who's reporting this? Is it anything reliable? Because The Last of Us Part 3 has to happen, especially with the ending that the second one left us off with. What if I told you this is actually coming from like The Last of Us creator himself, who said that The Last of Us Part 3 might not actually be coming? So again, there is an article here by Kate Harold that says that The Last of Us Part 3 update leaves fans heartbroken, saying, "While this has saddened me greatly, having previously teased that The Last of Us Part 3 is likely on the way, franchise creator Neil Druckmann has now walked back his word. If you're a regular around these parts, you'll know that The Last of Us is my everything. So yes, I've been clamoring for an update on a third and final game pretty much ever since Part 2 was released. For years, it was unclear what the future held for the franchise. Druckmann would dance around any sort of commitment when posed with questions about Part 3. Things changed though in early 2024. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered dropped, and with that came the long-awaited Grounded 2 documentary, a look into making the game. Towards the end of the documentary, Druckmann confirmed that after several years, he'd finally landed on the right concept for Part 3, following the initial two games themes of love and justice. For years now, I haven't been able to find the concept, Druckmann said, but recently that's changed and I don't have a story. But I do have that concept to me that is exciting as one, as exciting as two, is its own thing, and yet has this thorough line for all three. So it does feel like there probably is one more chapter to the story. This is a far cry though from the creator's latest statement. In a new interview with Variety ahead of The Last of Us second season arriving on HBO next month, Druckmann has warned video game fans that this could be it. "I was waiting for this question," Druckmann said. "I guess the only thing I could say is don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it." Fair to say, I don't think this is what any of us wanted to hear. I'm going to remain hopeful because, as he said, this could be it, not that it will be. Could Druckmann want to keep his interviews firmly focused on HBO's Last of Us and Naughty Dog's upcoming intergalactic The Heretic Prophet? Does giving this answer keep the heat off his back? Again, this is kind of crazy news. There have been other rumors and reports out of Naughty Dog as well that have said that although he did come up with a concept on what he wanted the game to potentially be like, they actually can just not figure out a story and a script that is going to align with what people want, and they are fearing they are going to greatly disappoint people, meaning that they think they might as well just not release the game altogether and save all the backlash that they, of course, had with The Last of Us Part 2. Again, I really liked The Last of Us Part 2. Granted, I think the ending kind of pissed me off. I think Ellie should have honestly freaking killed her. And look, I'm not a big Abby hater or anything like that. I really don't dislike Abby that much at all. Again, I just think with the story and how it should have gone, she probably should have died. That was my only feeling about the game. But at the end of the day, there were a lot of people who loved Last of Us Part 2, probably more so than not, but still like probably 25 to 33% of the fandom being left pretty disappointed and just disagreeing with the story altogether. So if they do that again for the third game, that could be a massive issue and something that people just do not want to see. And I think that that's where they're really struggling right now with The Last of Us, and probably why they haven't made a third game. It's also like Druckmann is really on top right now with The Last of Us TV show, and from what we've heard with the leaks is that this show is aiming to go 4 seasons where they will cover, you know, Seattle's days 1 through 3 and what happens before that in the second season, and in the third season will be Abby days, you know, 1 to 3 of her Seattle, and everything that happens there. And then rumor has it is the 4th season will be about, of course, the California run where it was in San Francisco, I believe, for the most part. Again, they have said that they wanted that to be way longer in the games. They just couldn't find the time, and I think it was even budget to have that be even bigger for The Last of Us Part 2. So they could be exploring San Francisco a lot more in a 4th season of The Last of Us. So this could really take us to like 2029, 2030 by the time they finish with this 4th season. So that would be a long time between The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us Part 3. That would be really, again, over 10 years, especially if Druckmann is fully focused on the show and the other projects they've got at Naughty Dog. He might not want to do a Last of Us Part 3, and by the time he does come around to it, could it be too late? Again, I don't know if it could be too late. After all, we've waited nearly 15 years for Grand Theft Auto 6, but at the end of the day, while we've been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6, we have had GTA Online keeping us, excited and pretty much happy for a lot of years until it, got a little bit slower towards the end. But The Last of Us really doesn't have that. It's a story game. There's nothing to keep us really, really focused and keep us occupied while we wait other than the show. And if he is finished with the show and just starts the game then, that would be a long, bunch of years of probably nothing that we would see. So I don't know where they're going to go with The Last of Us Part 3. I don't know how the story is going to really go. Like, after all, I guess they left Abby alive to open end the story, and what we will probably see for the most part at the start, you would think, is Ellie relaxing at Jackson with her son JJ and presumably Dina. So it's like, where do you go from there? How does the story evolve with The Last of Us Part 3? Of course, there are ideas that people have, such as, the idea of maybe leaving it off with the end of the game. They finally, Ellie finally maybe gives up her life to create that cure. Maybe they do something like that. I don't know how they're going to go. Again, that's probably just the ending that I've thought of. There's still another freaking 25 hours of the game to go over. So again, I'm excited to see how they go with this, but what I'm honestly more excited for at the moment is The Last of Us show. I think Season 2 should be absolutely insane. Season 3 could lose us, especially if the Abby story kind of falls flat. But again, Season 4 is something that I am personally highly anticipating if we get there, because I really like the San Francisco part and some of the scenes in there, especially when Ellie gets bit and kind of like, I don't really fucking care to that guy who, hung her up. The thing is, though, there was so much more content apparently that they wanted to do with that part of the game that they just couldn't do, with time constrictions and budget constrictions that they can do now with The Last of Us Season 4. So having that as a big season and more in-depth would be crazy. But again, this is something we're very much looking for in the future. The Last of Us Part 3 at this point is also something very much in the future at this point. Like, if they do it, it probably won't be until like freaking 2035 at this rate. So I'm very much highly anticipating some more Last of Us content. I'd very much like to hear, though, what you guys think about this all down below. Are you guys excited to see The Last of Us Season 2, some more Last of Us seasons, and maybe a Last of Us Part 3 if they decide to go and do that? Again, I'd very much like to know your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to my sports channel and my IRL/vlog channels, which will be linked down below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already as well. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.